I'm Laura Circle. I'm with the Nerd to Color. You know what? You guys are my MCU boys. I'm so happy to see
Oh,
South Asians in MCU. So I was so
good.
every time I saw you guys, and I always post on Twitter and everything about you guys. I'm like, yes, my MCU
Oh,
boys.
man, thank you so
you so
much.
much.
So, but no, I'm really excited to chat with you because the heart of the show is the story of the brothers.
Mm,
Grieving for the loss of their father, who they find out is a mafia boss, who and they happen to be Pakistani Americans. Like the
hmm.
heart of the show is the brothers, and they just happen to be Pakistani Americans, and
Right.
it brings another, even though it's not the show's center, it brings another layer to the story, where we get to add a cultural spin to The Sopranos and Narcos set
Hmm.
story.
Yeah.
What's it like having your own Sopranos Narcos storyline? And as comedy folks, how freeing was it to kind of play into these tropes that you get to just have fun with?
Honestly, it's a dream come true, you
What a
know.
compliment.
It's truly, honestly, yeah. Thank you for that question.
Yeah.
But like, some of my favorite shows include The Sopranos and
Hmm.
Narcos, and not in a million years did I expect to be lucky enough to play a character like this in a story like this. And it's truly the best time. I get to work with the best people in the business, and he's so funny, and
Come
he's
on.
got such good energy, and we us two, along with Borna, we have the guidance of Abdullah and Michelle and Jenny, and we've like taken the lead, and we've made it feel like such a safe space for everybody to work on. And
Yeah, and it's an expansion also of like, the shows that you mentioned are so amazing. And, the ability for a show like this to be made where it has comedy and it has drama and it has action and it has gore, but it centers around a group of people that you've never seen in this capacity or this predicament before, I think is what
yeah.
makes the show so special. And it made it so fun to play because it's very rare that you get the opportunity to be on a show that feels like something you have never seen on TV before. And so, even when we got the scripts, it really felt like something of like, hey man, even if I don't even get on the show, I still really want to see the show and see how they take what's on this page and make it into something on screen. And it really was a pleasure to make, and it was so fun to be in a genre. Oftentimes, shows about people that look like us are sort of explanations to people about who we are and saying we act like this and this is our experience being in America, rather than we're just people who are flawed like everybody else, but we're
Hmm.
in these crazy circumstances in this insane genre. And I think that's such a great step towards just, getting out there, getting minorities and people to step outside of what we think are the parameters of we have to live in if we want to be in entertainment.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, and as if I've been to your comedy shows. I
You
love your comedy
have?
shows. I have seen you live.
Oh,
Wow.
God.
And I feel like you're closer to the Raj character, just like by the way
I
you do.
kind of am, yeah. I'm kind
Yeah,
of a
and
lunatic, yeah.
and Sagar, I know you're part of UCB. I know your
Yeah,
work from
yeah.
that, and I know you were considered for Mir, but then he kind of had you for Raj, and like after you doing dabs with the with Abdullah, like I feel like okay, I can see Raj. How would you identify with your characters, and how do you find common ground of these characters and your dynamic with each other?
Well, I, as a person, am far more like Raj than I am like Mir,
Hmm.
right? It's Raj is just like a an extremely heightened version of me that, truly has no parameters,
Yeah.
I'm like the version of Raj that like I'm like, no, dude, your parents are gonna get mad at you for doing that, so I don't
Yeah,
do
yeah,
it, you
yeah,
know?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
But no, when I talked to Abdullah first, I wanted to play Raj, but he had planned on playing Raj himself at the time. And so I was reading for Mir, which I've been that person in my life before. I'm not that person, but I was really, glad when Abdullah decided he wanted to focus on, the the creating of the show, because that gave me the opportunity to explore Raj
Yeah.
and give a little bit of myself to him. And yeah, it was such a great time.
It was so fun. And for me, I mean, I have people in my life who are like that. I mean, being the children of immigrants, we have a lot of people in our lives who are sort of like, we have to do everything and we have to get everything right because there's so much weighing on them. And I think my character has that put upon himself, whether it's by, most of it is done by himself, feeling like, oh, if my brother's not going to do it, then I have to carry the
Yeah.
mantle of our family kind of thing. I personally, as the youngest of four boys, I don't really have that. I'm more so just kind of left to my own devices. And also, my brother has kids, so once parents have grandkids, they're like, yeah, we don't give a crap what you guys do
Yeah,
now.
yeah.
But what I found similar about him, there's a lot of stuff that I have that is not similar with Mir, but the thing that I did find that was similar was that, he really is interested in his family, and he wants to maintain relationships. He has a hard time doing it, but he really deep down wants to maintain relationships.
Mhm.
And I think that kind of feeling is, kind of what carries our relationship is we're very competitive and we both show love and don't show love in different ways.
Yeah.
And I think it takes all the way until towards the end of the show for us to even
Each
understand
other's version of what love
our love
looks like
languages.
each other. Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, perfect. Thank you guys so much. I'm such a fan of you guys, and
Oh,
I
thank
can't
you
wait to
so
go to
much.
more of your comedy shows. I always try to
Well, we
go
hope to
whenever
see
you
you in
come.
person. Next time you're out, come say hi.
Yeah, usually you leave really after, so I don't
I
know.
do. I have multiple. Yeah, I'm always running around like a chicken with his head cut off. But I'll
I love the
definitely come say hi.
show. I love the
Thanks,
show.
Laura.
Congratulations, and thank you so much. Hi. Okay, I want to start with, Abdullah, you were born in New Hampshire. You grew up in Thailand, Swati ka. Went to school in
Yep.
Philadelphia, lived and worked in New York, and now you're in LA. So you grew up all over the place. What makes Philadelphia the perfect place for the city setting versus New York, which has the largest Pakistani American population and the most delis?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I think first of all, there's been a lot of shows in New York. When I first came up with this concept, before I even wrote a draft, initially I just thought of locations in New York. And then very quickly, I was like, it's got to be Philly because I love Philly. I love being in Philly. I love being in the space, right? I think it has a much more distinct personality. And I think that, you see people's relationships out in the open in this way that you don't really get in New York, right? And I spent my formative years there, age 18 to 26, so I love it. And then, of course, when Michelle came onto the show, she is the physical embodiment of South
Yes,
Philadelphia,
I walk around with it, on my on my shoulder.
like Atlas.
Yeah, carrying it. Yeah, I'm from Philly, born and raised there. I went to school there. And when I read Abdullah's script, he had captured the weirdness of Philly in ways that, like New York has been, there's been love letters to New York already, but I think this was a real love letter to Philly. And I know that sounds crazy, but it really is.
Because we love Philadelphia.
Oh, Philadelphia is great, and what I love about this is I see a lot of shows being filmed in Philadelphia, and it's great to kind of showcase and go Eagles. Big fan of that. And there hasn't been many Pakistani American comedies or South Asian ones in general until recently. But I haven't seen any series addressing the Pakistani and Indian discourse ever. And I know the series isn't being about Pakistani. It's really about brothers dealing with the death of their father, and they
Right.
just happen to be Pakistani. But it does add another layer to the story and more depth to the story. Besides the mafia storylines, how much freedom and fun was it to add these cultural elements like the Pakistani and Indian discord and just like the cultural elements?
Yeah, we really got to play with a lot of those things. I mean, that in particular was just speaking towards the fact that, like, South Asians, right, despite post-colonially being from different countries, we all have very similar roots. We share a lot of culture. And, I'm a big proponent of us being a unit here in the United States. We don't need to have beef between Hindus and Muslims and, Indians and Pakistanis. Like, we should recognize that we're brethren in a lot of ways, right? And then, of course, like everyone else brought a lot of different culture to the show. Michelle is half Lebanese, right? some people say her last name Nader.
Yes.
Or like that, right? You know what I mean? But she's also half Italian, so there's like this family element that comes with that, right?
And then all of our writers represent different kinds of these, characters. I mean, we have an Indian writer. We had Iranian,
Yeah.
Iranian.
Two Iranians actually, because Sudi and Nikki, but they have different sort of upbringing. Sudi's from the Philly burbs, Nikki is from the Bay Area.
And we have Faraz, who's Pakistani. And it just was, I think what we loved about our writer's room was it really was a melting pot of all different narratives, but all with the idea of our families and having to deal with that generational kind of trauma and, kind of trauma in general.
Yeah, that's the thing we all shared.
I know you created a show because you wanted to create this relationship between brothers. Last one. What was it to add this mafia crime element, on the underworld? What inspired, hey, I want to create this brotherly love because it reminds me of my brothers, but also, drugs, sex, and rock and roll kind of
Yeah. Well, really, that was just the framing for the script to stand out from the other scripts that people might be reading when they're reading it as a sample, right? So, like, in general, I don't know, you want to answer that question?
Well, he's so modest, but I mean, he has a background. He's a journalist. He's a rapper. He's done a lot of different.
The best rapper.
He's a rapper. He's the best of everything. But I think that he has this kind of worldview that it brings in so many elements. And I think that's what the script that I read and hopefully the rest of the season is just that.
But I need to be reined in because what you're seeing is like my, thoughts tempered in a sense, and she's the one tempering them, right? I definitely was like, if left unbridled, I would go to ridiculous directions, but Michelle is just the most hilarious person ever. And she has it down to a science.
Well, it's a pleasure to have this kind of a genius, kind of, if I'm holding the reins of that, I'm the lucky one.
So I'm the horse in this analogy.
Yes, you're definitely the horse. I don't know if there's a whip involved. I don't know what's happening. I think we maybe move on to the next question.
But thank you guys so much. I love the show. It is so innovative. It's so the emotions are there for as family. So, and then the cultural aspects, it's just added bonus of like layers to that. So thank you guys so much for your time. I can't wait for everyone to see this. It is hilarious.
Can't either.
You just make fun of the white people so well. So I love it. Thank you. Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Professional artists and professors, maybe a nerd who's just like you, talking about the things that you like too. So I invite you to the NOC. In full color, you see me. The Hard Knock